Hello and welcome. My name is Sam, for those of you who've not seen me before. I'm a nutritional therapist and my aim is to help women during the mid-years to get through these menopausal years, mid-years into old age as easily as possible. So today I would like to speak about GLP-1 medications, because there's one mistake I see many people making when they're on this medication. So let's start with the medication. It works. There's no doubt about that. We're all aware of that. We know about GLP-1s are Ozempic, Mounjaro, that type of thing. And they do work. But we do produce GLP-1, which is glucagon-like peptide. We produce it in our own bodies. It's a hormone, and we produce it in the gut cells when we eat food. It's like a little sensor in the gut that sends a message to our brain to say when we've had enough. It also can reduce our or slow down our gastric emptying, so we will perhaps stay fuller for longer with this, so the stomach can extend a little bit and it will help slow that gastric emptying. It also inhibits glucagon. Now, glucagon tells the liver to release glucose stores for energy. And as we've mentioned in previous videos, if we've got that going on and we get a spike of blood sugar, if we're not doing something, we're not physically using it, then we can store that as fat. So it actually inhibits that as well. So it's got quite a few actions that will support weight loss. Now, GLP-1s were initially used for diabetes, but through that they found that weight loss was a benefit. So I don't think that's to be sneezed at, and I think there are some people who definitely need assistance. I think if you've got a little bit of weight to lose, it's probably a question you need to ask yourself: should you really be taking medication for that? Excuse me, I've got a cold. I just need to take a sip. Now, GLP-1, as I say, it's released when we eat our food. It takes about 45 minutes, maybe an hour, to send a message to the brain to say that we're full. So having a good steady eating style could be beneficial here, so that you don't overeat. So, and it drops off again. So when we've stopped eating, it will drop off. So the mistake I see many people making is they go on the medication, they find the right level for them, but they don't necessarily address their lifestyle and their eating habits. And I think that's a big mistake, because most people, I would like to say all people, but I'd say most people do not really want to be on a medication long term. As a short-term assistance to get you to where you want to be is great, but if you're not taking the steps to relearn what you should be eating and how to live your life, then the chances are you'll put weight back on, maybe even more weight, when you come off the medication. And for some people, they do find the medication might upset them somewhat. They might lose more muscle. They might find them a little bit depressed. There's been mention of suicide linked to it, but I think that's on a very individual basis. But it's really important, and particularly for women in the mid-years, we don't want to lose muscle. So I think if you are on one of these medications, including good sources of protein and doing some resistance exercise will be beneficial. Now, there are some foods that will trigger GLP-1 in our bodies, and there's a tea called yerba mate. It's a herbal tea, and it can increase our GLP-1 by about 40%. So that's interesting. So having a few cups of that during the day can be of use. There's a sugar called allulose. This can be used a bit like xylitol or stevia, but if you can get off sugar, wean yourself off it. But allulose is found in things like figs and raisins, but there will be other sugars in there, so I wouldn't recommend them to get allulose. And then what was very interesting, they did a study with two groups of people, one obese group and one non-obese, and when they had a high carb meal, they measured the GLP-1, and they found that it was inhibited in the obese group but much higher in the non-obese. They then also measured their GLP-1 after a high-fat meal, And there was little difference between the two groups. So that was very interesting. So if we eat a low carb diet, and this is where I tend to start with clients, reducing their carbs, because it tends to be with most where they're actually probably too high, but it is an individual thing. But a low carb diet can also help us manage our blood sugar levels and also help trigger the GLP-1. So I think that's quite an interesting fact to know that. Then also sleep, I've got that somewhere, here we go, sleep. And sleep can also increase GLP-1. So we know that when people have poor sleep, they can find it difficult to lose weight. And this may be one of the links there. So focusing on a good night's sleep, getting enough quality sleep, is definitely worth your time. And it can help, basically, that will help reduce your cravings the next day. So if you have a poor night's sleep, you know the next day you probably will eat more rubbish, snack maybe, have cravings, but a good night's sleep. So there's a few things. Low carb diet I would recommend, and I think if you're on the medication, start looking at a low carb diet, look at some resistance exercise, make sure you've got adequate levels of protein coming in, and work on your sleep. They're really important things to do. And the low carb diet is not a no carb diet. It's just looking at, you can get monitors to measure how your blood sugar goes, but I think fruits and vegetables, keep them in your diet, and maybe reduce the amount of things like pasta, bread and rice that you may be eating. So I hope that helps. If you're on the meds, I wish you luck with reaching your target, but please start to look at your diet and start improving it whilst you're on these GLP-1 medications. It may be that your interest in food is not there, but that seems to be like a prime opportunity to really focus in and improve your diet, so in the long run you can maintain this and improve your health alongside it. So hope that helps, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you.